I'll run through a solution how you can do this. It was really interesting this year to see the variety of methods and techniques that people chose to build this part. Some people started with the cylindrical boss here. Some people started with just this arm and then extruded from there. Some people drew everything into one sketch. All different kinds of ways to do it this year. It was really interesting to see how they did it. So if I look at this, I always think the first thing, you know, the main part of this thing is that centerpiece. So that's where I started, is on the centerpiece. A lot of people started with just drawing one of these arms and patterning it around. So we have some dimensions here, the 22-degree angle on this, but if you notice, it's not picking up tangency, so we're going to need to figure out how to terminate that back there. This 22-millimeter dimension in here is one that we need to keep track of. And then we have this sloped face here. So if you look at this, it's kind of all one surface. That's all one surface. That's actually a conical face that's defined by this 112-degree angle. So if you think about this, if I draw this in there, how high do I extrude this arm up here? You know, you're going to have to extrude it up to there. So we'll walk through how we do that. So let's get started here. All right, so we're going to start on the top plane. As I mentioned, the way I thought of this, I thought of that central portion of the model is the center of my model. So we'll go ahead and draw a couple circles in. 22 millimeters, 16 millimeters, and then I will add another construction line. I like to use construction lines. It's a visual tell that this is horizontal. We'll add another circle. We'll draw a line that's tangent off of that 12-millimeter circle, and then we'll terminate that, but I'm not quite sure where to terminate it yet. We'll mirror it to the other side, and the way I'll do this is we'll add our dimension of 22 degrees, and then I will just draw a vertical line in here so that comes down, and I'll add a relationship to make that a midpoint relationship. So my sketch is fully constrained. Now I'm going to go ahead and extrude it. I'm just going to grab two of these contours right here, just both of those, and we'll just drag this up to make our 22-millimeter height for that cylindrical boss there. There's our first feature. We will turn on the sketch again so we can reuse some of the geometry in that sketch. But as I mentioned before, how am I going to do this? How am I going to terminate that feature when I bring this up here? So I said I'll go on the side view here and draw in a line and revolve that around as a surface. So now I have something to extrude up to. Some people extruded it up and then cut away. All those things work. This is just my method for doing that. Edit our dimension. So we'll add a dimension at the bottom. That's got to be 6. But how do I terminate this line here? The way I did that is I just drew in a construction line, just draw that down vertical, and then I'm going to add a pierce relationship between the endpoint and that circle. So that always locks my sketch down. I know if the length of that arm changes, my angle sketch there will change as well. I'm going to do a surface revolve. We'll just revolve that around. You can see how that looks there. Now we'll take that sketch that we previously created, and I'm going to extrude that. We'll use some contours here. Just grab a couple contours and extrude that up. I don't have to worry, since I'm working on this same model, I don't have to worry about combining and doing multi-body stuff here. This will all be a single body. Tab key, I can use the tab key to hide that surface there, and that goes away. Now we're going to put these counterbore holes in there. So this is an M4 counterbore hole, and I'm going to place that right on that top face of the cylindrical body. And I'll go ahead and position that, but that's not the right size. I want it to be 4 millimeters from the bottom. So these sketches inside of the Hole Wizard are editable. So I'm just going to go into that sketch and move that extension line for that dimension to the bottom and make that 4. Could have changed the dimension, could have done all different kinds of things, but those sketches are editable, and you can make those changes very easily. We'll hide our sketch, and we'll take these two features and pattern it around 3 of them equally spaced. So we now have that. The next thing we need to do is put those 22-millimeter fillets in here. So I just use the selection helper here and just grab all the connected faces that go along with that, or the similar edges that go along with that, make that 22 millimeters. And then we need to put those 1 millimeter fillets that wrap all around everything. Just choose 2 edges here, and it takes care of everything for us. I like to add a little color to those. It helps me visualize that, you know, how this fillet actually runs. As I make changes, I can visually see how that works. That's certainly not necessary. Last thing we want to do is we want to apply the material. The material's called out on the drawing. It was because we asked before you can finish, you have to enter a weight. So there's phase 1. Okay, so here's phase 2. We give you this, you're done with that, we give you this drawing. Everything that's in red, you got to make changes. So let's take a look. 3 by 8, so all 3 of these arms now go from 22 degrees down to 8 degrees. I see 3, these are all offsets. I see a 3 offset there, a 3 offset there, so it kind of tells me maybe I can shell that. I can shell those out to get that to work. And then the other thing is this radius change here, so I got to change that to 30. Got to redo some fillets over here. We'll redo our fillets, and then we're going to apply a load here and hold these blue faces and run a simulation to get the factor of safety. Here's the load directions called out. So let's see how we approach that. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into that feature, and I'm going to change that from 22 degrees down to 8. That went pretty well. No problems there, no problems. But I got to do that shelling that I talked about. Get those offsets in there, however you want to, however you created that. We'll do a 3mm shell. Turn our preview on. That looks about right. That's going to be pretty good there. So that went pretty well, pretty easy too. Now we're going to come to those big 22mm fillets. So if you look at how that 22mm fillet was there, I can't really just put that back in there. I don't want to model material back in there. So I'm just going to suppress that. I don't want to work with that one anymore. To swallow this face here, I'm going to use a face fillet. The face fillet will allow me to choose those 2 faces, and it'll create the fillet across there. See how that works? Hit the Enter key, fillet command comes up again. Choose 2 more faces, I get another 22. Choose 2 more faces, get another 22. Face fillet, whenever I think I have to swallow a face like that, I always think face fillet. And then our 1mm fillets, I got a missing edge, I get it, no problem. Instead of trying to go grab all those faces or edges, I'm just going to fillet the shell feature. When I fillet the shell feature, it fillets everything, but this fillet I don't want. So I'll just use delete face command and delete that one fillet off of there, and then I have my part, the geometry for that part's all done. The next thing we need to do is run our simulation. I like to use, you can use SolidWorks Simulation or Simulation Express. I like to use SolidWorks Simulation. We ask you to hold those 3 planar faces from the counterbore hole. So we'll go ahead and grab those 3. Then we'll add a force to that central cylindrical face there and provide a direction. I don't want it to be normal. I want to provide a direction there. Just use an edge for the direction, and I'll put the force in of 2,000 newtons. And in this case, from the icons, I can see I need to reverse the direction. Force is applied. All I need to do now, I need to, since I am using multi-body and I didn't delete body, I have to exclude that surface body from my simulation. Next thing we do is we run our simulation. We get a stress plot. I always like to animate this to see if it's behaving as I expected. That helps me understand whether or not I have applied my loads and boundary conditions properly. And then we ask for what's the factor of safety. Factor of safety is 3.1, somewhere around 3. So if you got there, you're one of the champions. So that's Model Mania 2020.